Okay, so with your life experience, say as a Buddhist and a meditator, it's going to be challenging. You're going to have to deal with essentially your whole personal makeup, the sense of self. I mean, some people think they know themselves until they actually start to do practice, and then they see a lot of underlying stuff. I mean, you can go just way back in childhood, into say the last life, the previous life will be the most prominent. When it comes to the past life, say experience or stuff coming up, but one has to, make an effort to try to be as sort of like skillful. The ability to work with, especially all the emotional stuff that we go through, because with like your personal karma, you can't actually feel and understand karma unless you actually go through an emotional experience. Without emotions, you won't have that sense of who you are as a person, as an identity. And so the whole purpose of the whole framework of the teaching, the morality, development of meditation, and the wisdom, it's all about coming to an understanding of the self, moving through the self, and then eventually transcending the sense of self, both in very, very deep meditation and at the enlightenment stages. So with this business, there's no real shortcuts. People can have different levels of skillfulness, but the vast majority of people, you're looking at several lifetimes to really come to a comprehension of Dhamma. So it's well worth people developing as much insight and knowledge and understanding of their personal experience as possible, because you're going to keep running into the same stuff over and over again, 101 times, 1,001 times. And if you go through something, at least 101 times, you might think that you're getting nowhere, you're not getting results. It's not the case. You've got lifetimes of karma, endless lifetimes. As the Buddha said, no beginning point can be found with the process of karma and rebirth. So you're going to have stuff which is going to come up and move through you easily, 20, 30, 40 years. And some people may get a little bit, maybe a bit disenchanted. But it's the nature of karma over multiple lifetimes. So there's these forces, these energies come up in the personality. But the bottom line is that one needs to be reasonably sharp, skillful. As soon as you have stuff coming up, to be very quick, get on the ball, and address that particular say issue or experience. Because otherwise people just get caught again and again and again and again. So it's well worth sharpening. The whole purpose, the whole the peak experience of this whole Buddhist practice is that that very deep, profound wisdom and insight, and some people that will be the test of a person's the ability to sort of to work with their stuff, to work with emotions, to work with difficulties and obstacles, and with the people around you, because you're going to, even with these communities, sometimes some people may feel it's actually much easier to live alone in life and not having to deal with other people, say on a worldly level, so much on a community level, but you'll still have to deal with one's self. So even if you minimise the contact with other human beings, if you're a practitioner, you're going to still have to deal with your personal stuff, regardless. But you see some people who might go out, go scrub or go bush, and they get little properties, and they get a little, what do they call it, a tiny home or a prefabricated home, and then just live very, very quietly. But you're always in, even if you one isolates oneself, one has the ability to isolate oneself, you're going to have to come in contact with people, in circumstances, you have to, you have to buy food, you have to buy supplies, and you're running a car, and this and that, and this and that. So you really can't avoid other human beings on an ultimate level. But other people will mirror. So if you get something coming up, other people are going to mirror the stuff that you have inside you. So you can be very, very quick to blame other people. I've heard multiple people say this. You have to look within yourself. The problem always lies within oneself. But other people still have to take responsibility for their own actions. So if you've got someone who's might be quite difficult, this and that, and other people may feel the same thing. It's all very nice to say, you have to take full responsibility for your own stuff. That may be a point on an ultimate level, but as human beings, you have to make an effort to get along with other people, and not to deliberately antagonize, provoke them, and create problems for others. Because you'll find, even in say in human society, the more irritating, the more annoying, and more antagonistic you are as a human being, the less people will be likely to engage you. So the whole business with this practice is coming to an understanding. Whatever you're going through, people can have 1,001 experiences. Whatever you're going through, it all comes back to understanding the nature of the self, the sense of self, and so one has to go through all the layers, maybe 1,000,000 layers within this self experience before you sort of reach the emptiness of say the nibbana element. There's a cessation of personality and say self-view on a partial or an ultimate level. So that same principle, that's where you, what's the right word, as Ajahn Chah said, even previously, like even with his own monks, I mean, he wasn't shy about even provoking his own monks or provoking certain responses and whatnot. If he saw that people were stuck, or he saw that people didn't particularly understand a certain principle of Dhamma or a certain sort of angle within themselves, there's something that they didn't see, he might deliberately bring about provoke them, or bring about a situation where that comes up in the mind, and then the person is essentially forced to reflect on that. So with Dhamma, it's all very nice to be peaceful and tranquil and happy, but that's only half the business. And your wisdom and your insight and your understanding really needs to be better than your samadhi. It needs to be slightly better, sharper, faster, and have a greater sense of awareness. Because some people may think, like little trivial things like that they've seen on a regular basis. If you go through an experience and it keeps coming up for maybe for the 500th time or the 1,001 time, it means that it's still not resolved. It's still not understood, and the karma is still not dissipated. You've got stuff. You've got lifetimes. You could have a full lifetime. You could have lifetimes of a particular mood, a certain emotion, and that could. It's going to take years. It can take years, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years to work. Most people usually have decent meditation at that point, but it can take a long time to work through. But the bottom line is that insight is key, and that is going to help you deal with the stuff that you've got coming up. Resolve difficulties, the ability to connect and get along with others. Because no matter what people think, especially with karma, there's no dodging and weaving. There's no running and hiding. The karma will always find a way to reach you. So even if you avoid difficult, problematic, antagonistic individuals, Even if you're quite smart and you can avoid and avoid people like this, it will only be it may only be what would you call it? It may only be a temporary solution. There are two ways of looking at this in a nutshell. To wrap it up, that if you when you run into problems with people in life, by minimising the contact, the personal contact with that individual, you will actually minimise the strength of the karma which is playing out between you. So you can either try to resolve difficulties or problems with the people that you're connected with, or you can avoid them completely. So even if I say that karma will reach you eventually, it's true to a degree, because if you minimise, if you choose to minimise and cut yourself off from certain individuals in life who are quite problematic, you'll actually weaken the karmic potential between you. You'll weaken the potential problems and difficulties within you, but it's not absolutely foolproof, because you can avoid a certain person, and you can avoid them for 5 or 10 years. You could even cut them off for 5-10 years stretch. But if there's a latent potential, a karmic potential, it's going to reach you through another individual. It may be weakened to a significant degree because you separate yourself from a person who may be troublesome for you at work or family or whatever. But there may be a latent potential, a residual potential, which may come full circle for you, but that potential will be actually be weaker because you're minimising the interaction, because it's actually a complete waste of time to fight and fight and engage and get involved. Some of the stuff that we see around the world, it's absolute madness. Some of the stuff we see on a military, on a military level. But if this kind of cycle, the cycle of hostility and violence and aggression, it's just endless stuff going round and round and round. But the bottom line is that wisdom is key, and karma is a major principle. And people, you're making karma from second to second on a very subtle level. So people have to be very careful the way they live their lives. They might, they might slip up here and there, but not to get caught like a second time, a third time, a fourth time. It's better to disengage. You get trouble with someone, it's better to disengage from that individual completely to the best of your ability than try to point score, try to win, play games, all this kind of nonsense. That kind of stuff has karmic potential in itself. So as soon as you start to, you want to play and antagonise and annoy other people, it's going to come full circle, regardless of what they think or what they feel. It's going to come right round, and they'll have to deal with that at a particular point in the future. But anyway, I'll let's see what we can do with the meditation is. Maybe we can try something like maybe a slight variation on a tune. We'll go for like a broad area. We'll do the breathing meditation. We'll go for a broad area. We'll breathe in and out. I won't make this one too complicated. We'll breathe in and out through the full face. So we focus on the feelings in the face. And the reason we do this is because psychologically, people's anxiety and their worry and their concerns and their emotional stuff. It naturally just works. It works its way through one's facial expression. It works its way through the muscles and the anatomy of the face. And by becoming more aware of how you feel, how you feel physically in the face, that can be actually useful for relaxing people emotionally and being aware of habits and tendencies. Attention and grimacing and seriousness. A person becomes more aware of that. and greater ability to resolve it in the long term. So we'll do that in the beginning. We'll do that for 10 minutes, and then we'll use a more focused point. Focused on. I usually focus on the mouth here, which is I find very, very useful. It's not too tight, too tense. So we'll go broad for 10 minutes, and then we'll just sharpen the focus on the feelings around the mouth for the last 20 minutes. So just get yourself in a comfortable position with your back straight, head upright. Make sure there's nothing tight around the waist, the wrist, the neck. Make sure you can breathe fully into the chest, the lower chest. And put your hands. It's good to actually sit comfortably. It's usually good to put the hands together and cross the ankles only if you feel comfortable. Some people like to balance their keep their posture balanced and stable, but you just sit in a way which is comfortable for you. And what I want you to do for this first 10 minutes is to focus on the feelings in the face, and then breathe. And the breathing is at the center of your awareness. So our awareness encompasses how the feelings in the face, and the sensation of breathing is at the center of that experience. So might take you just a couple of minutes to get a handle on it, but it's all awareness of feeling and sensation, say in the whole face and with the breathing together. So just close your eyes and relax physically, relax emotionally, and then just focus on the feelings in the face. Say for the next 30 seconds, focus on the feelings in the face, and then focus on both the feelings. After 30 seconds, focus on the feelings in the face and the breathing together as a complete object. Now focus on the full face, the experience of the feelings in the full face with the breathing meditation together. So if you find a particular part of the face might be could be a little bit tense or a bit tight, or you may notice something, the quality of the sensation may be different. Some people, they can lock tension around the eyes or in the forehead, so if you feel that at all, you can just gently place your attention there, become aware of it, increase your awareness, and just sort of consciously try to relax that area, and then dissipate that energy, that emotion which is locked up in the physical structure of the body, also on the face, that is. Okay, now so we'll narrow the focus down. So now I want you to place your awareness, your attention on the feelings around the mouth section. So that tends to be quite clear. It's very easy to track. It's not too tight, too focused, and sensations are quite strong. So it's very useful as a meditation object. You can get feel reasonably, together with the vipassana, you can get peaceful reasonably in a reasonable kind of time frame. And so it's not one pointed, and it's not like too broad, where it takes like a long period of time to get any calm. But it's just it's just the kind of right kind of focus to get good results. So focus on the breathing at the very center, say on the periphery, and then put most of your attention on the feelings around the mouth, sensing the breath on the periphery of that small zone for the rest of the sit. if you find that you're still thinking excessively, you've got some kind of emotional thought process rolling, which is obstructing the peace, just pay attention to that. Just spend at least 30 seconds reflecting, understanding, analysing a particular experience which is blocking the meditation, because this is the test. If you can't get peaceful, if you can't let something go, it means the insight, it's not present, it's not significant, is enough. So this will be the test of the meditators, if you can get the mind peaceful, because it means that the insight's established to a similar kind of degree. And then after you've investigated a certain feeling, certain mood, experience, then just move back to the breath. But you'll see the power of the emotional state will start to drop. Good. people feel a bit drowsy or they start to nod. Start to take slow, deep breaths fully into the abdomen. Try to maximize the level of oxygen which is circulating in the body and reaching the brain. So we're coming towards the end of meditation, so just reflect back and see what works for you in the course of the session. And I'll ring the gong 3 times. You can open your eyes when you're ready. Any of you guys had any questions on the meditation at all?
I had a comment, and maybe you could comment on that, but the face, concentrating on the face was really, really helpful, and I noticed it was right in my right lower cheek, and for some reason that made me think of a sneer and how I can react to people with contempt, and yeah, there's my anger coming out.
Yeah, I mean, some of us, as human beings, we may have a reasonable degree of awareness of what we go through emotionally, but sometimes the emotions can go quite deep, and sometimes we can't necessarily see exactly where our head. I mean, energies, forces, emotional energies can get trapped in the physical body, and part of the reason they get trapped there is because we don't have full awareness or understanding where we're at. There's something like hidden, something hidden, maybe something a little bit deeper down below the surface, because once you understand maybe a particular experience, it usually tends to slowly over time resolve and dissipate. So with this whole business, if people, if a person has a particular experience, maybe a slightly unpleasant experience, and it's with them for like 20 years, it's a clear indication that the insight is still not significant enough to unravel and bring about a dissolution of that particular emotion or trauma, or it could be any experience whatsoever.
I have a question, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so one of the identities that I identify with is an artist, and so in the Christian tradition, we often hear about doing your work as a prayer or whatever other activities that you are engaged in, and you use that as a prayer, as a kind of spiritual practice. And I like watching and hearing interviews with artists, and sometimes they go so deep in the way they articulate their experience with art that it overlaps, I feel it overlaps a lot with their spirituality. And you can sense that they're not doing it only for their artistic growth, but also perhaps for spiritual reasons. However, having said that, even in the Christian tradition, there are places like a psalm where it says, "Be still, and God is there." And translating that into other traditions like the Buddhist tradition, we are familiar with the benefits of being still and minimizing one's activities as much as possible. So my question around that is it possible to reach deep mental, those deep mental states that we often term as jhanas, or maybe for the less experienced ones, if it's not jhanas, let's call them deep mental states. Is it possible to reach such states while one is engaged in an activity, or do we really have to be still in meditation?
You usually find that formal meditation practice, sitting, walking, any kind of sort of skillful mantra recitation will usually trump any kind of maybe absorption, artistic absorption. Could be like really extreme activities like mountain climbing, even chess players. Usually find that meditation will definitely, if choice of better words, will definitely be superior to the state of samadhi or that quality of attention that you see maybe in artistic or creative pursuits. But it's still not to be the samadhi that you can get, the focus and the stillness that you get with art or with sculpture or macrame, or maybe even different art forms within the Zen tradition, Tibetan tradition. I certainly wouldn't underestimate them. You can definitely induce a state of tranquility, focus. I wouldn't say one-pointedness really means like real samadhi. Anyone who has real one-pointed samadhi, it's worlds away. There's no comparison. But it's not to underestimate the kind of sort of skillful, natural, intuitive kind of focus. Some people can get very good if you're a professional artist, mountain climber, a sculptor, professional chess player. You could have very, significant states that you may feel are quite. Quite impressive. You may be quite satisfied. You may feel it's a good quality state, and it's definitely worth cultivating. It's worth. It may be even on the level of insight. You could be absorbed in a certain style of art work, but intuitively that you come to you may come to understanding as of the art form that you're engaged in, or there could be certain things which relate, with colours or brush stroke, or the kind of emotional moods that you're inducing in some kind of creative pursuit. So each person will see the quality of the state that they can induce. So I definitely would not underestimate. You've got things like Zen and the art of archery, Zen and the art of flower arrangement. So if you could have a person who's a professional artist, could be a creative person, a creative, intuitive person in almost any category you can think of, and they could be they could be following their artistic creative pursuit for 20, 30, 40 years. So no one should ever underestimate the quality of the focus, the stillness, quality of attention that they can induce, because they're very what's the word? They're just getting very, very skillful with that particular aspect of creativity or expression. You like any artist will tell you, and any professional person, you do you're following a particular could be a pursuit, creative pursuit for like 20 years. I mean, I wouldn't underestimate the level of focus. I mean, so we even have monks who get very peaceful, cutting. I mean, working up in the what do you call it, in the sewing room, like altering, cutting, stitching robes. I mean, we've got monks who sort of get into the zone and they feel quite peaceful, quite content. So some people, there could be 1,001 things which can induce a good quality state, and especially if you've been doing it for like 5, 10, 20 years or so.
Ajahn, Martha and Jana both have questions. Martha, would you like to unmute?
Yes, please. I have a question about, I understand that thing about wisdom needs to be a little bit better than concentration. So, any ideas for how to bring that in? I'm an extremely anxious person. Really, really, really anxious. And always, have been since early childhood. And so, for example, when I'm around people, my breath will be shallow, my heart will be pounding, and my mind will be racing. And I'm aware I do concentration, but I'm thinking if I had better wisdom, then I might be able to, just any ideas for how to deal with that, because sometimes I'm not all that skillful when it comes to that. I'm a runner. I'm not a fighter. I'm a runner. I try to escape the situation, and in some way, physically or mentally, that is oftentimes not helpful. So just anything that you can give ideas for how to develop wisdom versus concentration, or in addition to as it relates to social anxiety. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all right. So if I put myself in your shoes, I mean, I wouldn't underestimate what you're going through. It's been with you for a little while now, but what I would tend to focus on really is feelings in the body, because as you already mentioned, you feel your heart rate, your emotional state, strong feelings, strong physical responses, and because our emotions, essentially, they drive the whole course of our lives, and the way we think, the way we feel, the kind of affecting our physical body and whatnot. I would tend to focus on one thing I could see, especially emotions. So, if I put myself in your shoes, I would, if possible at all, to do it in a very safe environment. I would make sure I was alone in a safe, so like in one's home, in one's room, and then deliberately, while you're alone, while you're not connected with other people, deliberately induce a specific emotion which may be quite difficult for you, or it could be quite intense or overwhelming. So deliberately, imagine a person, or even it could be anything. It could be a Rottweiler. I could be incredibly frightened of pit bull terriers or Rottweilers, which is quite a realistic kind of response. But if I want to get over my reaction to fierce dogs, I could just sit alone in my room, and then I could imagine being attacked or being threatened by this animal, and then I deliberately provoke an emotional response, a physical response, and then I watch it, because I need to understand what I'm going through. So I could have had this for 20 years, 30 years. I could have been bitten by maybe one of these amazing animals when I was younger, so it could have stayed with me for a long time, but I need to really understand this. I need to look at this and go into this in order to get some understanding and increase my awareness of what I'm going through. So if I get just that similar, I mean, without sidetracking, that's exactly what I would do. I would deliberately bring things up, bring up a specific emotion with a specific person or circumstances, and just gently, just very relaxed, very gently, just watch it, just watch that feeling, watch it, maybe for at least 30 seconds, a minute, and start to question it. If I've got a certain emotion, and it stays with an uncomfortable emotion, it stays with me for say 20 or 30 years, it means that there's still stuff hidden from me. I still can't see the totality of this emotion. If I was able to see this emotion in all its complexity, in all its depth and its complication and connections, if I was able to see all that, it's very, very likely I would be able to release it, because there's nothing being hidden from me. I'm exposed. I'm watching, observing. I'm exposing this thing, this feeling. This difficult feeling I could have with me. So, but sometimes say for example, another potential is some people may have anxiety that could stay with them 20, 30, 40 years, and some people may think that how can you sustain an emotion? An intense emotion like that for such a long period of time. But a lot of people don't, non-Buddhist people may not be fully clued in that you can have these states for lifetimes. You could have something, an intense state like this for 2 or 3 lifetimes in a row. So you just can't drop something like this, even in 6 months, 12 months. I mean, some people it could take them 20 years. So you're looking at lifetimes of karma, the complications which come with karma. So, but an easy way I would say is provoke one feeling at a time and watch it for nothing less 30, 60 seconds, and then question it. I need to understand this, where it's coming from, who it's connected with, how it affects me emotionally, how it affects my physical body. Try to understand as best as you can, and you inquire. And then you just focus on that raw emotion again, that raw feeling again, if you can. Even if you have to provoke it a second time, a third time, a fourth time, keep bringing it up, and watch it, and try to understand how it feels. What's the effect, and the people it's connected with and whatnot. So as you question it, you go deeper into the feeling. You may run out of things, run out of knowledge. And then you just watch it. You watch it, provoke it, and watch it, and then question it again, and then watch it, and then question it. And so you keep going deeper into the feeling, and then you'll see. You'll know for a fact if you're actually making progress with this particular approach, because that feeling will start to subside. One of the monks get caught like this. The lay practitioners get caught like this. If something is hidden from you, if there's something that you don't understand, something that you don't see, it's going to persist. It's not going to stop. You've got habits, 30, 40 years who are still stuck with stuff. It can be with mum and dad, it could be past lives. But the bottom line is that once you start to see this thing to a quite a significant level, to a reasonably, once you see it to the point where it starts to relax and it starts to unbind and it starts to release, then you really know that you're really getting a handle on that particular emotion. Because this is the test. If I have a problem and this problem continues and does not stop, it means that my investigation, my understanding is still not significant enough. I still haven't gone deeply enough into that particular issue, because this will be the test. Whether for anyone, for any person concerned, once you see that thing once you are able to start to let go and release that thing, and it starts to subside, then you have very, very clear, very, very clear indication, proof that you're actually releasing this feeling, this experience, regardless of where it's actually coming from. Does that make any sense, Martha?
It totally makes sense. I did that with death a long, long time ago. Death, and looked into my relationship with that. I have no fear of that at all. And that's exactly, Thank you so much. That's very helpful. I think it probably, I wish you were here and we could do it in person. Thank you so much.
No trouble at all, Martha.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, with all these things, all these little tips that I give people, every single one of you guys, you have to put this stuff to the test, because what may work for me doesn't always work for it will work to a degree, but it may not work every single time. So this is why with each person concerned, you actually have to put these things to the test to see if it actually works for you, because we're very, very different as people, and we all have different karma to work with. Are there any other bunnies who'd like to ask a question?
We have Jana here. She would like to speak. Sorry, Jana.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So thank you, Ajahn, very much for this very helpful meditation. And I have a practical question on that, because during meditation you said that we should focus on what's coming up, and I have a page in my upper jaw, and when I was focusing on my jaw, there were 2 pictures coming up, and I don't know if I got it right what you said during meditation, how to handle thoughts or pictures or emotions that come up during this kind of meditation. So maybe you could,
Yeah. So you had thoughts and pictures coming up with a feeling, a physical feeling in the face. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. So as you'd be aware that. So if a physical feeling in the face triggers memories, triggers thoughts, triggers emotion, so that you can see clearly there's a direct connection there. And so when this kind of stuff comes up, that it's your responsibility to look into it and try to understand, exactly how it feels and who it's connected with, and maybe at what time in your life experience. Some of the stuff that we got, it might be sort of garden variety, maybe very, very, I wouldn't say trivial, but maybe stuff that we can deal with very, very easily, that we can that we see on a daily basis. But that same principle, that if you're focusing on a particular sensation, a feeling in the face or even the physical body, and it provokes an emotional response, that means there's an emotional experience connected with that. And I would look at, like, the bottom line is, as I mentioned previous, that no matter how complicated your life experience, what you're going through, that emotion is key. You need to really understand human feeling, because this is behind all the stuff the vast majority of the stuff that you go through. It drives your karma. Emotion is the energy where it affects the way we think and we feel, the way we walk and we talk, and the emotional component is a major principle within one's personal karma. In order to understand karma, the way karma works through you, you have to feel it. There's no way you can you can have you can't have a real awareness of karma. You can't see what karma is doing to you, the way it works, the way it's working through your mind and body. You actually have to feel it, right? You either feel it emotionally, you feel it in the physical body, but it's human emotion which is the key principle. So the more emotionally intuitive you become, the more you understand the way you feel basically about anything whatsoever. It's possible to have a mix of feelings, but you can only really have one feeling at one time. Say, for example, you could have a person that you're connected with, and that person brings up easily maybe 3 or 4 emotions in a very, very short space of time. But in reality, on the level of the mind, you can only really have you can't have 2 feelings at the same time on the mind level. You can only have just one feeling at any time within the one's mental experience. But without sidetracking too much, people they really need to become skillful with emotion. They really need to understand emotion, because this is where we get stuck. This is where this is the energy which drives our karma, our behaviour. And the more intuitive and the more sensitive and the more what's the right word, the ability to work with this stuff, maybe just one thing at a time, because sometimes people might feel a little bit overwhelmed if they've got 3 or 4 or 5 feelings, maybe connected with a certain experience. A certain person might feel it's like overwhelming, but you take one feeling at a time and you become, what would you call it, like an expert, like quite skillful. You explore and you understand. Sometimes people get caught up. What would you call it? They get caught up with long-term relationships with other people, but the other person concerned, it wasn't necessarily good for them at all, but they keep repeating that behaviour, maybe even 2 or 3 times over, to their detriment. But in essence, it's one's, as an extreme example, it's one's emotion which is driving those kind of behaviours. So one needs to really become like an expert, say like with human emotion, with say like one feeling at a time, because we have 1,000,001 feelings, but where we get stuck, become an expert, become your own psychologist, and go into it as deeply as you can, and then see, once you start to see the relaxation, the release, the letting go of that particular emotion, then for a fact that you're on to, what's the right word, that you're getting some depth. The investigation, the understanding is getting some depth, and you're really, you're getting a handle on this thing, and the ability to release it slowly over time.
Okay, so so during meditation, I try to explore the feeling that comes up and not get back to focus on the mouth region or something.
Yeah, just one feeling at a time, and try to understand everything. Try to understand as much as you possibly can. So, just like looking at the feeling, and it's like you are your own therapist, and I want to understand everything about this emotion. So, you may have to, you could constantly may have to address it multiple times. But the bottom line is that one needs to understand everything you possibly can about it. And that book by Edwin D. Jelen called Focusing, that's a very, very good book. She's an American psychotherapist, and but she was very. She wrote this book on. It's a Buddhist say Vipassana feeling-based therapy meditation process, and you can get it online on digital, but it relates to what I've mentioned previously with especially with the Armadale group. But this particular approach, this particular book, one becomes so it becomes like an expert. One becomes very skillful in how to deal with one's stuff. But she uses the physical body, because your physical body doesn't lie. People can get very complicated. They can get very confused. They can say all sorts of different things. They can be running a range of complicated feelings, which which can blind the person, which can they just don't know where to start. They don't know where they're coming from. Very, very strong, complicated emotions. But she uses the physical body to connect with one's mind experience, with the emotional mind experience, because as your emotions play out and work through your physical body won't lie to you. You can lie to yourself on a say like a mental level. Not to say that people deliberately do it, but because we're so complicated, people can just get overwhelmed with emotion. They may not necessarily see things clearly, but when you focus on trouble spots, tight spots in the physical body, you will, and you focus, and then you reflect and understand. Focus, reflect and understand. You will be able to what's the right word? Really get come to grips with that particular experience, because as the emotion plays out in the physical body, you reduce the complexity, you reduce the confusion, because you're just focusing on a sensation. I could have very tight, with the neck or even the shoulder. I could have maybe one shoulder which is incredibly tight. Even if I do yoga, there's still some resistance. There's still some tension there. And by focusing on that feeling in the shoulder and exploring it, then I come to a more say deeper understanding, because that's that same principle. Your body, when emotion works through your physical body, and then you focus on the trouble spots, especially in the chest, the full chest. Some people get it around the neck, the shoulders, but especially the torso, the upper chest, middle, and the tummy, abdominal area. People can get a lot of emotion stuck in that torso, in that full chest area between the throat and the belly button. But the body can actually, the feelings in the body can actually give you more clarity. The physical body is less confusing, and it will give you maybe like a real potential to work through any kind of sort of emotional challenges that we might be going through.
Well, Ajahn, it's been a wonderful session this evening. Thank you very, very much for coming in.
Thank you guys for being so patient.
We're very happy to see you, Ajahn, so that's no problem at all. Ajahn, would you like to finish our session with a brief chant or a few
a blessing chant, Chris?
A blessing would be perfect.
Okay. Mahakaruniko nacho hitaya sabapanina puretwa parami sabapato sambodhi motama etena sajawaje no hotu te jayamangalang jayantu bodhiamule sakayanam nandiwadeno evam tuwa vijaya hohi jayasu jayamangale aparajita palanke sisi patawi pokare abhiseke sabapodana agapato pamodati sunakatam sumangala supapatam suhotita sukano samuhotu jasuyetam brahmachari supadakina kaya kama vacha kama padakinam padakina manokamam panidite padakina nikatowana labantate padakine.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thank you guys. You've been wonderful to spend time with.